Hey guys, hi, welcome back once again. My name is Vaishali, and having learned quite a few things from, through, and from within human interactions, and having pursued and completed my master's in business administration and in clinical psychology, and having had the chance to work as a counselor and as a therapist over the last few years, I today wish to talk about loneliness. And I'd like to get specific with regards to the usage of certain words in keeping with certain feelings and emotions, in keeping with some context, to understand what loneliness is all about, to help us get the picture as to what loneliness is all about. So loneliness, if I can put it in Hindi, is akelapan, not being akela, but dealing with akelapan. And yes, of course, at times it happens that somebody can be alone and be lonely at the same time. But it's more unfortunate and feels more miserable when you're surrounded by others, but you still feel lonely. Wherein you can be in the company of others, but you don't feel accompanied by others. And if I can paraphrase this in Hindi, it would actually mean कि कोई साथी तो है या बहुत सारे साथी तो हैं, but on a very emotional level, on a very psychological level, आपके पास उनका साथ नहीं है. And thereby जब कोई साथी हो लेकिन उनका साथ नहीं हो, which is where you feel disconnected with them, which is where you feel that the relationships are shallow and hollow or empty, which is where you feel that you can't be vulnerable and thereby you don't feel emotionally and psychologically safe within those connections, and which is why you also truly cannot have real intimate social connections with the people you're surrounded by, with the people that you surround yourselves by, makes you internally feel that you don't belong with them. And quite naturally, as a social creature, to a very large degree, we are wired for connection. We are wired to feel belonged in order to feel safe. Now, one may be physically safe here in some situations, but if we can't feel emotionally safe, if we can't feel psychologically safe, our physical body, our physiology experiences a lot of distress. And I think many of us today are aware as to what distress can do to our physical, our relational, and our psychological well-being. So loneliness is not just about not having people around us, but it's rather an internal psychological emotional feeling wherein we feel disconnected with them, wherein there's lack of vulnerability to be completely open, honest, and transparent with regards to our internal worlds, wherein relationships with others and with ourselves feel meaningless. And if we can't be vulnerable within our closest relationships, in keeping with our internal world, in keeping with our emotions, for we do not feel safe, we naturally, as a resultant, cannot be authentic. And in a way, then the relationship also feels hollow and inauthentic and meaningless. When people say that they feel lonely despite having people around them, we'll also notice that everyone in that situation or every individual in that situation has built up emotional and psychological walls wherein they are guarded almost all the time. Quite naturally, we'll only be guarded, we'll keep ourselves guarded when we don't feel safe, when we don't feel that we can trust others and that others can trust us as well. So quite naturally, there's a lack of trust, there's a lack of intimacy, there's a lack of deeper connection, there's a lack of authenticity, there's lack of safety, there's lack of vulnerability, there's lack of transparency, there's lack of genuineness when we talk about loneliness. And in a way, it makes us feel quite helpless, again arising out of feeling unsafe. And whenever we feel unsafe and thereby afraid, we quite naturally, many a times, or rather most of the times, experience ourselves and the others that we are interacting with go into 5 fear reactions: fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and flop. And I can personally add to this that at one point in time, a long, long time back, when I was experiencing loneliness, I felt no meaning to my life as well. There was no purpose to my life as well. In a way, telling us that loneliness is also deeply connected with meaninglessness and with purposelessness, which in a way, to a large degree, at least in my understanding, also then tells us that there's lack of curiosity, there's lack of joy, there's lack of excitement because of lack of curiosity and lack of joy, and there's lack of compassion, with a whole lot of numbness, psychological numbness within one's own self. So then let's truly look into all of these factors कि क्या आपके पास बहुत सारे साथी हैं पर शायद आपको उनका साथ नहीं फील होता, शायद वो ट्रूली इमोशनल और साइकोलॉजिकल लेवल्स पे आपके साथ नहीं है, which is very different from chosen solitude, which is very different compared to being alone. Check out if you feel psychologically and emotionally safe, and can you be truly vulnerable about your internal world with the people that surround you. Can you be truly honest, open, transparent with them and even with yourself? Does your life, does your existence feel meaningless and purposeless in keeping with your own internal world and your connections with others as well? Does your relationship with you and with others feel superficial, hollow and empty, and maybe even scary? Well, if all of those parameters or most of the parameters you find yourselves resonating with, it's time you accept that reality, and it's time that you seek support for it as well. And let's not wear loneliness as a badge of honor or as a badge of being a martyr, which at one point in time, a very long time back, I had personally done, because it creates more ill-being than well-being. Let's try and take notice of that. Let's try and reflect on that. And I will see you once again the next week. Till then, stay tuned in. And guys, if you do like the contextual content of these videos, please do like, share, and subscribe.